Welcome to another edition of the Harmon Solar Podcast. I'm Ralph Romano, VP of Sales and Marketing at Harmon Solar, your host. And once again, my co-host, Ben Walschlager. And you will notice we call him now Mr. Everything.
Mr. Everything,
right?
That's right.
Because we can't really talk about what he does because he does so many things. He's Mr. Everything.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what my title is anymore. I just get an email that says, hey, can you take care of this? Sure, yeah, I'll do it.
I think you said you had a pamphlet for your
Pamphlet. It's now
Right.
becoming like a newspaper.
So we're getting to newspaper status now.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Ben, today we're going to talk sales, but we're going to talk the sales appointment setting and consultation process.
Yeah, we are adding to our podcast like crazy. We got roofing and SRP and sales now. And I think this started off as maybe a one-time thing, doing every now and then. But now we have like a whole...
Now we're just going to take off.
A whole year.
The goal is 100 of these.
100 of these.
That's the goal.
So
100.
make sure you like and subscribe to our podcast.
Exactly.
Get
So
those
and
notifications.
the podcast is now up on the website. If you go to harmonsolar.com, you'll see the link for the podcast in there, and you have a podcast page. You can listen to any of them that you want, and they're all up there right now, and they're going to continue to grow. Try to put one out about every week or two. So
there you go.
We appreciate that. But so today we're going to talk the sales acquisition and
this is a
process.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because you have a sales background.
I do. So
I have a sales background.
Right.
And we have two people in here that have sales backgrounds as well. So this might be a 3-hour podcast.
No, it will not be a 3-hour podcast. Today we have a couple of really special guests. Mm-hmm. We had a guy that we talked about, and we'll talk to him in a little bit.
We usually have a guy.
We have a guy. He's fun. He's different. And then we have a gal. Mm-hmm. And she's been with the company for a while. So we'll talk to her in a second. So when you do call Harmon Solar, there is that one voice, and I talk about this on the radio when I'm on the radio, that is always there to answer the phone and just get you going in the process. Yep. And today we brought that person into a studio, and we're going to talk to her. And that person's name is Geovanna Macedo. All right, welcome, Geovanna.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
It's good to see you again.
Now that I think about it, did you bring Geovanna into the...
I brought Geovanna onto Harmon, yeah.
That's right.
Because I'm Mr. Everything.
You're Mr. Recruiter.
I'm part of HR apparently, and I hire people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you brought Geovanna. So Geovanna, how long have you been with Harmon?
I've been with Harmon for over 7 years.
7. So again, we talk about this all the time. People we keep talking to that are in Harmon, 5 years plus.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So 7 years. And I remember when you started. Because you worked for me.
Yes.
So this is the fun one. Giovanna works for me, so she has to be careful today. So she's talking to her boss.
No, you don't, Gio.
No, you don't.
I brought her on, but she works.
You did, and I remember she was a student of your wife.
Yeah, right. Yep.
In high school.
Yeah, she went to the high school that I taught at. Yeah,
that's right. So Mr. Everything was always a teacher too. See, wow, that's amazing. So tell us a little bit about you. So you've been with Harmon for 7 years. What were you doing before that?
I was in the food industry for about 2 years, and then got brought on to Harmon and been here for 7+ years.
Did you like him as a teacher?
I never had him as a teacher.
Did you like his wife as a teacher?
Yeah, she was nice.
You're saying that because he's right here?
No.
I had your twin sister, I think.
No, I think it was my older sister.
Your older sister. She's got so many sisters, I can't keep track. But I had one of her family members as a student, yeah. And
tell me, what's your primary role at Harmon? What do you do here?
So I answer all incoming calls at our 800 number. So I basically pre-qualify all customers inquiring about solar and answer any questions they might have.
So anyone that contacts Harmon, that either it's email or they go on our website and they do fill out the form or they call us, it goes to you.
Yes, I'm basically the first point of contact.
Wow, nice. Wait, so on the website, when you go on a website and you have the little live chat with an agent or whatever, most of the time people think you're talking to no one, some robot. You tell me it's actually Gio?
No.
That is not me.
No. We have a chat service that we use, so this way we can grab people outside of business hours.
But she contacts them eventually.
Right. So then when they would go to Gio.
I was like, because Gio works 24/7? Wow.
Yeah, that would never happen.
Yeah.
We couldn't. She can't do that. Anyway, okay. So Gio is our first point of contact. So you guys want to reach out to Harmon and talk to Harmon? I talk about this all the time. You're going to get Gio, and Gio has a job to do. So what she's doing is she's vetting you. She's basically going to get your information, and we're going to go over exactly what she's looking for. And today, no slides.
No slides. Should I just act like a customer calling in, and we'll just do a reenactment?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I don't think she would like. She's not going to like that. So today, no slides. We're just going to talk through stuff. So Gio, let's talk about that. So you're getting a call from somebody, and they want information about solar. What's usually the first thing they're saying to you?
They just said they either heard about us on the radio or saw our truck out in the streets, or sometimes just found us online, inquiring about solar, of course. And they ask, what is the whole process? What do I need to do to get a solar quote? I'm like, all right, well, let's get your contact information in case we get disconnected. Get that first set out of the way. And then I asked for their basic information. So starting with their home address so I could scope the roof.
So let's talk about that. So they give you their obviously their name, their address. You look at you get their address. You go on Google or wherever it is you go. Right? Is it Google?
Yeah, Google and Maricopa County.
Okay. Oh, and you go to that's right. You go to the county site as well, and you're looking at their roof.
Yes.
What are you looking for?
Make sure that they don't have shading. Well, not excessive shading, of course. That way, you get the most sun production to the system.
So wait. You're telling me that for solar you have to have sun?
Yes.
See,
It's a crazy concept.
it's crazy, right? Because I guarantee you, some of the people that you talk to, their houses look like they're in
The forest.
a jungle or a forest,
Yeah.
right?
I've seen
And
those,
they don't
like, so-
understand why we can't help them.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a lovely home that's under trees. So I don't,
The treehouse.
Right. So you're looking at the roof. What else are you looking at when you say you're looking for trees and shade? What else?
The orientation of the roof.
What do you mean by orientation?
So basically looking at the orientation of the roof to determine if there's enough space for solar. Besides shade, basically.
Whether it's north or south, right? You're looking
Yes.
to see
Yeah.
when you orientate the azimuth, right?
Yes.
So that's what we mean by azimuth. And so what we're looking at is south is the highest producing roof plane they can have, right? We love south roofs.
why is that? Should we go into the science of that?
Would you like to?
Well, see, the state of Arizona is north of the equator, and the equator, as you know, gets the most sun. So anything facing the equator, which would be south of us, gets the most sun. So that's why south facing produces the most.
Wow, you're such a teacher. This is why I did not like high school.
Yeah, well,
So I'm just saying.
you didn't have me as a teacher. That's
I
why.
would have quit.
Yeah, I would have quit too.
So you're looking at that. You're looking at south. We like south. Well, then we'll look at west because west is important too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
In SRP, yeah, a lot of people think you want a higher production offset in SRP, and that's not necessarily the case. Your main goal of solar is to lower your bills. So how do we do that? We do that by optimizing where your panels are going to go. So in SRP, it's actually west is best.
right.
Remember that.
But it's also for, especially in the summers, we have really long days in the summer, and end of day you got the sun.
The
that's
sun
up
is
till,
setting in the west,
right? And we can still get that production off the west roof. East is good in the mornings because we'll get that early production sometimes, especially with batteries and stuff to help them charge back up if they're set for that time. So,
Yeah.
what about north?
North is basically the worst place to put these solar panels just because you don't get the best sun exposure there.
Right, because it's going away from the equator.
It's pointed away. There you go.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you guys ever look and you never go outside and notice that your north roof has got the least amount of sunshine of any plane of your house.
Yeah, well, let's back up. If there are some international people listening and they live south of the equator, you guys would want a north-facing system.
We don't install there, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm just saying in general, if there's solar companies that are south of the equator, then they would want a north-facing system.
We're Arizona.
Okay.
Sometimes it gets away. Anyway, okay, so we're looking at orientation. We're looking at the roof. We want to see, is it clear and free? Maybe there's obstructions on it or stuff, right? Maybe they got 10 chimneys or a bunch of pipes or whatever, right? We can't just put solar on that, typically, right?
Yeah, you can also tell the condition of the roof too. Sometimes looking at the aerials, you get into that conversation like, when was the last time you had your roof looked at?
Do you look for anything else?
Besides, no, that's about it.
You don't see if they have a pool or something? Maybe you can go take a dip or
No.
No? Okay.
No. I mean, that's like a later conversation. As in, if they're adding a pool down the road.
See, you spun it. That's good.
Yeah.
That was really good. Oh. Okay, so you do your piece there, and if it's something that you feel we can move forward with, you go to the next step, right?
Right.
Will you stop and tell somebody this is just not a really good house for solar?
Right. Yeah. I'll let them know. You either have too many trees. Are you opposed to trimming them or cutting them back significantly, like below the roof line, where that won't be an issue? And if they're iffy about it or not too convinced, then I would say then it's probably not a good thing for you to move on and get a solar.
So that's important because we talked about how we do things different at Harmon, right? Mm-hmm. We actually do tell people no all the time.
Yeah.
We've many stories about that.
And it starts with her.
It does start with you. And I know sometimes you'll come and ask me and we'll look at something. I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
What kind of reaction do you get from people when you tell them no?
That's probably the answer that they're not expecting to get, because most companies will most likely just say, hey, we'll install wherever.
Sure.
Doesn't matter. But I'll let them know, we're not those companies. We're going to put a system that's going to save you money, not cost you more.
You know, funny, I just had a conversation with somebody that was at the home show. We had a home show in Maricopa last week, and they were talking about how the person was walking around to all different solar companies, and they were all telling them what a great idea solar was. And I think you were involved in this. And they came to our booth, and we looked at them, looked at their usage, and said, this is not going to help you.
Yeah.
And they just were like, I guess they were kind of like taken back that we were that honest with them. Like, well, everybody else here is telling me this is the best thing since sliced bread. Well, it is, but not for you.
Right.
Because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So another example, right? We talk about that at the home show. You tell people if it doesn't look good. We say no all the time.
Right.
It's interesting being in the industry for so long because, you know, when you're driving around town, you notice other homes and their solar systems, and you can just kind of point out and be like, yeah, we did not do that one because it's under their forest of trees. And look at this, you know, install, and look at that install. And like these are all people that probably shouldn't have gotten solar. And I would love to, you know, knock on their door and just ask them, like, how's everything going with your system, by the way?
We wouldn't want that. Okay, so that's a big part of your vetting right there. And then I'm sure you get their email address, telephone number, all that stuff if you're moving forward. Right. What's the next big thing you ask for?
Their energy consumption or kilowatt hours, monthly kilowatt usage. For the past 12 months. Sometimes they'll inform me that they just purchased a home. So we'll get into that in regards to how to retrieve their usage. So you can log into your electricity account online if you have one or create one. And you should be able to backdate your usage for the time that you've been in the home, at least 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Depending on
the utility company, yeah.
Yeah, but we just require your last 12 months of usage history to provide you with an accurate quote regarding the amount of panels you need, overall savings, and cost.
So what if I don't want to give you that?
And then we can't schedule an appointment.
We'll just go off my square footage then.
We can if they just moved into the property because, of course, they won't have that information.
There you go.
But I go into additional questions regarding their home and their family and their lifestyle to determine how to accurately design that system for them.
Very key. We talk about it all the time, how these are custom systems, right? And it's based on how you use power.
It's not like going to the store and just buying milk.
Right.
It's very custom to you and your needs.
Right. If we don't understand how you use power, how can we give you the right system?
Yeah.
Which it makes it more difficult for the newer homes, but we can kind of do something for you because a lot of people don't, they don't want to wait 6 months to a year.
We've been doing this long enough to kind of know what we're doing.
I'd say we have a pretty good method to figure it out. Yeah. But if somebody just doesn't want to give us usage, it's kind of tough. It's like, you have the power. Just give it to us so we can give you the right quote.
Right.
Yeah.
So usage is very important. What else?
Just want to add on into the usage part. If they don't have an account online and we can move forward with getting their usage by calling the utility company on the 3-way phone call so we can schedule the consultation then and there so we're not wasting any time to get you that quote as soon as possible. Or I can email you instructions directly step by step on how to retrieve that information. You can do that at a later time.
Yeah. So you'll help them. You either get on a 3-way with them with the utility or you'll give them instructions on how to do it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, because we don't want the salesperson to go out there and just be like, I don't know what I'm doing because I don't know what size system to build or do. So we need that information.
So, okay. So key thing so far, we've gotten their name. You've looked at their house. You see that it qualifies. You've asked them for the usage. Is there a usage number where you're going to sit there and go, yeah, we really can't help you?
Yeah, for SRP, it's probably below 16,000 where I will be like, yeah, that's not a good idea. It's going to cost you more money.
Right.
For APS, it's probably below 12,000, 10,000, kind of just depending. Sometimes people are snowbirds.
Yeah, these aren't hard numbers. These are kind of just estimates.
They're
estimates. If you're at $15,999, don't think, I'm not going to get solar now. Like, no, just we need to take a deeper look.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so that's good. So people understand that. So we've got all that done. So you've got usage. It looks good. You've got the house looks good. What else do you need? What other questions might you ask?
Oh, if they plan on adding anything to the home in the future, such as a swimming pool, electric vehicle, hot tubs, anything of that nature that may cause your energy consumption history to spike in the future.
Right, because we might have to build a system maybe a little bit bigger because we know life events are going to happen for sure. Right. So we got all that. Credit, we're probably asking them, what do you ask them about?
What program they're looking for specifically. Of course, this depends on the utility company you have. Whether you could lease or just finance and purchase outright or do all three options if you're with APS. But credit score of 650 or higher is what I ask the customers if they have.
So if they're looking to finance, you're looking for like a 650 plus. If it's cash, obviously that's cash. Yeah. Cash is king. And then there is a leasing opportunity like you mentioned. We do have a couple of companies, at least one right now that does leasing. So Good. So you're trying to find out and what you're really doing is gathering all the information, not only to vet them, but then they hand over to our salesperson, obviously, so they can do their job.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to interrupt a little bit because that's kind of important to let the customer know that we are a company that has all these options. Because you do call these other solar companies and they'll say, here's your loan option. We don't do leases because you should never do a lease, and here's why. We only have these panels. We only have this loan. We only have this. This is what you're going to get. That's not us. That's not how we do things.
Right. No, I agree. That's a great point because we're very different in that way. Most companies don't care.
Yeah.
They just want to get you on the hook.
We ask, well, what works for you?
Right.
What do you want?
So you ask that question, like, why are you looking to go solar? It's important for us to understand that.
Right.
Right.
And they'll most likely mention their utility bills are extremely high in the summer and want to get that lower. And yeah.
We need to know their end game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you want to do this?
Yeah.
So I can help you get there. I don't want to decide what the end game is for you.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, so that makes a lot of sense. And of course, we probably ask them how they heard about us, right? We want to know so we can track and see the thousands of people that listen to our podcast or they go to a home show.
Thanks, Mom.
Or referred by a friend. And
Thanks, Mom. So stupid. Referrals are important, right? Oh, let's talk about that. So what about referrals?
So we ask particularly how you heard about Harmon because, it could be a possibility that you heard about us through another customer. We want to make sure that certain customer gets a credit for referring you to us. And once your system is fully installed and permitted, your friend or whoever referred you will get a $250 check in the mail.
Nice.
I want to check.
Oh, I'll refer you.
If you refer me, I'll refer you.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
Okay. I think that works. 250, and I know we do some stuff sometimes even over and above that. I know we've done $500. We've done other things as well. So, but that's important. So we need to know if you've been referred by somebody, you've got to let us know that up front because, we want to make sure they get their money. It's important. A good percentage of our customer base, and I would say at times it's over 65%, are referred to us. So
the best type of marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. We do we do the job we do to get those referrals, and we hope that you're happy. We want you to be happy because then we want referrals from you.
It's good. There's no marketing in it. That's why you're the marketing guy, so you don't have to do anything.
I'm not the marketing guy. I just kind of watch the marketing. Okay, so we've gotten through all that. Do you get any type of questions from them? Typical, like they don't really understand solar, maybe, or maybe that you've probably got two different people, right? The person that's been looking through this like crazy, and maybe the person that just kind of heard about it.
Right.
Can you think of any type of questions you may get from them?
Questions specifically, sometimes regarding our equipment that we're using, that kind of changes occasionally. But we do have, pamphlets or cut sheets in regards to the equipment we're using. So I'll provide them via email, those cut sheets prior to the sales representative going out there. That way they have some information. And if they want to gather any questions for the representative before he goes out there, then they're prepared to ask him those questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So equipment's kind of a interesting topic, and I'm sure we're gonna have a podcast on just equipment alone.
Yeah.
I like to tell customers that you can go to Fry's and get Heinz ketchup. You can go to Walmart and get Heinz ketchup. You can go to Costco and get Heinz ketchup. You can go to Safeway and get Heinz ketchup. It's all Heinz ketchup.
Sure.
The only difference is where you're getting it. So you get these customers who are kind of hung up on equipment. A lot of us, we're all selling the same type of panels, and if we don't have their type of panels that they're selling, I'm sure we can get them because it's all pretty much the same tier 1 type panels. So, if you are getting quotes, I would say don't get hung up too much on the equipment. Look more at the company that you're getting them from.
To your point, most of us are using very similar type panels. Now, I've noticed lately we're seeing a lot more lower end panels, and I think that's happening because I think the economy's changed, costs have changed, interest rates have changed, and you're seeing people looking for cheaper and cheaper equipment. So there is a little bit more emphasis on equipment right now, but typically there never really has been. But
every company's saying we have the best. No, you all have Heinz ketchup.
And they really do when it's all said and done. But I will tell you that the stuff that we sell it's top notch. We're not selling the garbage.
Right.
We don't do that because we're going to back it for 25, 30 years, whatever it is that we're going to. So anyway, good point. So at that point, then you've gotten everything you need. Am I missing anything?
No, just.
So now you got to set you're scheduling the appointment, right? So based on what you do it on their schedule, our schedule, how are you doing that?
Their schedule. Well, I'll just mention what days we have available that week, and then let them know time frames. And
does it have to be in person?
No, we prefer to meet with you in person. But if that's something you're not prepared to do at the moment, then we could do something over the phone.
I always prefer in person. I'm very visual. I like to draw diagrams and things like that. I feel like I can't get that a message across the phone or emails.
Yeah.
I like to be in person, because I'm not a high pressure type person. I just with my high school teaching background, I'm always drawing diagrams, like I said, and I just have to be there to answer your questions.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I like doing it in person too. I mean, we've all been on I've done appointments. You've done appointments. Yeah. Our next guest has done 1 billion appointments. I mean, and that's what we do. So we like to be in person. We'll do it over the phone if that's what you really want.
Yeah.
I just don't feel it's the best way of doing it. We'd like to get to your house, walk around, look at some things, just to kind of confirm some things for us.
Yeah.
It helps as well.
I went on an appointment recently. It was a phone appointment because they were on vacation in Washington. So I would have loved to have gone to Washington if Harmon would have flown me there for that appointment, but phone call, I guess, was good.
Jeez. All right. So that's the appointment setting process. So if you call Harmon, you're going to talk to Geovanna, and that's what she's going to look for. She's going to vet out your house and everything else that we just talked about, just to make sure that it's a good fit. Because if it's not a good fit, we don't want to waste your time.
Right.
I mean, that'd just be dumb. I'm not going to sell you something that doesn't make sense for you. That's not going to help you. We don't even want to have the conversation at that point.
And I always tell people I want to sleep at night, and I'm sure Geovanna wants to sleep at night, and Dennis wants to sleep. We all want to sleep at night. I don't want you calling me a year from now and going, "Hey, this was a bad idea. I should have never got this solar system."
Okay, so now we're going to bring in our guy, and this guy,
he's been around for a while.
He's been around. I mean, he's
been around longer than I have.
Longer than me.
Longer than you.
When I got there, he had already been there, and I've been there almost 11 years. So this guy's been doing this for a long time.
Yep.
And he knows a lot about solar, right? So Dennis Alessandro. Dennis, welcome to our show.
Thanks, guys. How are you all doing?
We're good.
Good.
We're good.
Excellent.
So Dennis, tell me about Dennis. First of all, how long have you been with the company?
Been with Harmon about 12 years. Started as an independent sales consultant before I was brought on as a full-time solar consultant.
10 years. And what did you do before Harmon?
I used to own a motorcycle dealership here in the Valley.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So did it go bankrupt, or what happened?
Well,
I'm kidding.
No, I could tell you. I mean,
Let's get into this.
Yeah, totally kidding.
well, when the economy crashed and burned in
Right.
2009, I pretty much lost everything. So that's when I got into solar.
So about 12 years ago. So you were there about a year before I came in.
Yes, sir.
Right. That's been a long while.
Yeah.
So Dennis is, just for the audience, Dennis is my guy. He's like the top guy in the company when it comes to sales. There's no person, and not to knock anyone else.
I'm second best.
Not to knock anyone else, but Dennis is the guy that you want to talk to, because he knows his stuff. He's been doing this for a long time, and he has a ton of customer base. He has a ton of his referral base is huge. He just knows this business, and he will call it when someone else is pitching you something and it's not good. Mm-hmm. He'll tell you, and if it's better than we have, he'll tell you. So these are important things. So 12 years with the company. What your primary role with this company is?
Sales, residential solar sales.
So purely residential, right?
Absolutely.
So you're the guy that goes into the home.
That's correct.
Okay. So let's talk about that. So we talked about how Geo's getting you the appointment, right? She's doing her job and doing her thing, and then she's sending it to you, right?
Correct. Yeah. So
what happens?
Geovanna is really good about getting all the information I need and sent over to me to put into proposals. To get you a fine proposal of, accurate costs and production, and
right.
if the system's going to work properly on your home or not.
So this is another unique thing I think with Harmon. So you get the information from Geo. Who builds that proposal?
Well, it goes to another step where we have either Ben or Daniel that will take the information from us to Mr. Everything again.
Well, it used to be Ben, but not really anymore.
Yeah, but
Mr. Somethings.
Mr. Something. We'll give them all the information of what Geo has gathered.
Right.
What other information I may have gathered along with Geo's, and send that down to our design and proposal team. And they'll design it and propose it and send it back to me to pitch it.
So I want to mention this, and I've thought about this today.
Uh-oh.
Is we got another guy that's been doing the proposals for 8-9 years.
Oh,
I want to say 8 or 9 years.
We're going to bring him in.
Who you used to work with.
Oh.
And I think we should bring him in, because we could talk about the uniqueness of the proposals and what he looks for and the different things like that, which I know you could talk about too.
Yeah.
But that's one thing with Harmon. We have this individual, and if we need more, we have Ben and everything else. But we can really take a look at your usage and other things and put together a proposal that totally makes sense for you. And I'm really confident in the fact that what he does, he's been doing it so long, he just gets it. Where a lot of people in this industry, they don't get it. So it's important to use that person that we have. So, and we'll call Dan. Daniel does that for you.
Absolutely.
And I know he's a big help, right?
He's a huge help. So all the information that Geovanna gets and Daniel putting it all together makes my job a lot easier. So between the three of us, we've been at Harmon for quite some time where everybody knows what to expect from one another, and it just moves real smoothly. So
you've got your proposal stuff. You're ready to talk to the person. Do you confirm the call? Do you talk to the customer, or you just go to the appointment time?
I just go right to the appointment time. Unless it's been rescheduled a couple times, then I'll follow up and say, I'm on my way. But other than that, the schedules are pretty well tight with appointment after appointment after appointment. So it's, you just keep the truck rolling and hit, several appointments a day and tell people about solar.
And when he says truck, he's not kidding. He's got this big old 4x4 with Van Halen stuff. I mean, you'll
42-inch lift on it, 90-inch tires.
So he gets in his truck. You get over to that house for that appointment, and you knock on the door.
You'll know he's coming about 5 minutes to your house. You'll hear it.
So let's talk about the in-home experience. So when you get to a home, what should a customer expect?
First thing we do is when we sit at the kitchen table, as I'm opening up the computer to get into their electronic file, I'm asking them right out of the gate, what kind of questions can I answer you about solar? What can I answer? Any questions about Harmon? Just a little background about how long they've been in the home. They've been in Arizona, what they're looking to gain by going solar, and get a little good feel of what they're trying to accomplish by going solar and kind of getting away from, high utility bills.
So you're kind of if Geo has notes in there, maybe you're confirming those notes of things that they said to her.
Absolutely.
As far as what their goal is and all that.
Absolutely. And then I can get a better feel in the home while I'm there of really what they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And there's been times that I've had to adjust a proposal on the fly because we didn't quite hit it, with the notes that we've gotten or they've changed, different things along the way of, I didn't tell the appointment setter, which would be Geovanna, we're planning on putting a pool in next month. Or my wife just decided to get an electric vehicle. So those are things that we can account for in the solar system, so we can kind of adjust on the fly.
It's good because it's setting those proper expectations. Just today I was talking with a customer, and I had to tell them no because he wanted something that I knew we couldn't deliver. I wasn't just going to sell him a system and put panels on there. He was saying I don't want to ever pay a utility bill again, and I was like, the fact of the matter, that's not going to happen. So if that's really what you want, then you're not getting with us.
Now, wait a second. I've talked to a couple of solar companies, and they've told me I will never have a bill again, and I will get a check at the end of the year from the utility
sign
company.
on that line, sure.
Yeah?
Get that commission
Are you
check.
telling me they didn't tell me the truth?
They did not tell you the truth, no.
I find that hard to believe.
Those days are gone. Those days were, decades ago.
Decades.
Yeah. Not true now. But yeah, the customer, like I said, today that I talked to, that's what he wanted, but I had to set that proper expectation. And I said, it's not going to happen. I'll still give you a quote, and I'll show you the realistic expectation of what you should, see on your bills, but for you not to have a bill again, that's not going to happen.
So you talked about one thing where you change on the fly sometimes. So I think it's important to talk about. It's if we're talking to a husband and wife, we want them both to be there, right?
If possible.
That's the better scenario.
Sure. But if it doesn't work out that way, it's
you'll do it one way or the other.
Absolutely.
But that sometimes if we're talking to a couple, maybe one might be more on board than the other. One might have a different idea than the other. So you might have to go in there and you maybe challenge that, find that, and you got to start changing things up a little bit.
But at the same time, I have kind of a different approach when I'm in the customer's home. I'm not a quote-unquote salesperson. I don't consider myself as a salesperson. I'm more of an educator. So I go into the home educating people on solar, not there. Obviously, I'm there to sell solar, but I'm not there to strong arm them into signing a deal or signing a contract right here, right now, because I want to make sure it is a solid fit for the consumer.
So
he's an educator. Can you imagine him as like your history teacher in high school or something? That'd be cool.
No.
All right. Today's lessons on Van Halen.
So you used a key word in there that I love that I use all the time as consultant. So your title is a solar consultant. You're not a solar salesperson. You're a consultant.
That's correct.
And Harmon is probably the most consultative company in the solar industry that I've ever seen.
I believe so.
educate.
Yeah.
And we keep using that word today, but that's just true. We like to educate consumers on solar, which is why we're doing this podcast. Right. We do this to educate the consumer because there's so much misinformation out there.
Oh, yeah.
And we just don't want to play part of that. We want to give you a tool that helps you fight that. So Dennis is one of those. I'm going to say Dennis is one of those tools. He's a he's a consultant.
No objection.
No objection, right? He's a solar consultant, and his job is to educate you on how this works for you, especially, and what it's going to look like, and if it makes sense or not.
That's correct. I mean, I go into the homes a lot, so I hear a lot of, like Ben was saying, misinformation that's given from, salespeople. Because what they are worried about more than anything is getting the signature on the bottom line of that contract so they can get their commission.
Right.
The way I look at things, yes, sales are important, but if you give the right information, the sales will come, the money will come. So I never worry about that. I go in there and I'm looking to help a consumer because a lot of my business that I do for Harmon is referral based, like we talked about here, just a few minutes ago. And if I'm the type of salesperson that's out there that, is not being very ethical, my job in this industry is going to be short-lived. So I've been around the block a long time, and I pride myself on being very ethical. And unfortunately, we have those conversations that other salespeople have told from other companies to the clients that aren't quite true. And we have to have those conversations because we want to have the right information out there for them.
So we're going to talk about that toward the end there. I want to talk about some of the things that are out there that are being said that you've heard from other customers. We'll get to that. But so you used another word, you used ethical. And that's a big one for us, right? We're probably the most ethical solar company I've ever seen.
I think so, and I know so. Here again, I've been doing this a long time, and I do sell quite a bit of solar. I do get recruited quite a bit from other companies to leave Harmon to go sell for them and even make more money than I do get paid for at Harmon. I do stay at Harmon, though, because it's a very ethical company. So it's very family-based, doing the right thing, and being all about the customer safety, satisfaction, and that type of thing. So that means a lot to me as a employee of Harmon and a salesperson for Harmon that I represent that.
So I'm going to give the shout out, and we all work for Dan and Julie King that own the company, and they are probably the two most ethical people I've ever met, which is why I've been here 11 years. Is because they're that exact thing that they push onto the company is why we're here and why
absolutely
why Harmon is such an ethical, moral company. This is tough in this industry. This industry is really hard. There's a lot of people that are cash grab companies that come in that try to just get what they can and leave, and they hurt our business. And we're out there to help prevent you from getting hurt, as well as trying to help you go solar if it makes sense for you.
Yeah, my first solar company I worked with, I
remember.
I won't say their name.
I can't.
Don't do it, Ralph.
Nope.
I didn't know any better. I didn't know the industry. It was just more of a part-time job, things like that. And they, but me being, somewhat intelligent person, I could look through all the, the numbers and like, this is not right. And, they gave me a script that I had to say at the sales appointment and talking to customers. And I was like, this is a blatant lie. And they're like, well, if you want to make money, this is what you need to do. Money was fantastic. It was great, but I was only there for maybe like 2-3 months. And I was like, I got to leave. I can't be a part of this. This is unethical. And then I was like, I do like the industry. I do like solar, but I need to find an ethical company. And that's when I came to Harmon, because I just couldn't handle that. But then being a part of Harmon, you see those other companies still exist today. They're still saying the same things. They're still doing the same things. Some of them. Yeah. And it's just like, wow. So be careful out there.
Yeah. So again, let's go back to because we could probably go into this all day, but anyway.
That'll be a new podcast.
Yeah. The ethical podcast, right? So do you do a site walk at all the home? Do you look at anything?
A little bit. Yeah. Just depending on how in depth we get into the proposals. I'm not there to waste their time because their time is valuable as well as mine. Mm-hmm. So if it goes down that road where they're really getting interested, and I know they're getting interested, we'll spend a little bit more time on doing a kind of a site walk. If it's somebody that's really gathering information and getting kind of acquainted with solar, I don't go down that road because, like I said, they're out to kind of get an education on what solar is going to be. And if you do too much, then it confuses them, it boards them, and then they're not really ultimately interested.
So two things about that. So if you do a site walk, what are you looking at?
I'm looking at electrical boxes for potential electrical box upgrades, and we would try to stay away from those as much as possible. But they do come about. So
So you want to let them know up front, hey, you might need to upgrade this as part of this because I'm seeing X, Y, and Z.
Yes,
Right.
yes, absolutely. So the way I take a look at anybody's home or proposals, I don't like to have anything, I say, under the table. I want to have everything above table and set the expectation, like Ben said earlier, of potential things that may come up during a engineering audit that we do after signature and that type of thing. So they're well, prepared of what may come down the line depending on load calculations and that type of thing.
Yeah, because a lot of the times, when Geo's looking at the house and Daniel's building it, we're looking aerial down. We can't see a lot of the things. So having someone on site looking at, like, oh, you know what, we didn't know this before, but now we do. This might have to change, or we might have to move panels here, or you might need a new service panel, things like that. Just because I was there is something we couldn't see initially. So it's good having that person on site.
We're good, but we're not that good. We can't see everything right from.
But I want to add something onto that too. Is we're not going to sell you something that you don't need.
Yeah.
Here again, not to put any names out there on competitors, that type of thing, but there's competitors out there that will automatically tell you that you need a utility box upgrade or this, that, and the other. And all they're doing is padding their pockets on selling you more stuff than you don't really need. So when I do speak with that, with the clients, hey, it's a potential. I don't know until the load calcs come back. But if it does come back and it's kind of over that, this is kind of what you're going to expect on a change order.
Yeah, being in sales has helped me vet out other sales and my own non-solar. I have a salesperson come to my house and they say like, "Oh, you need this," and I go, "Why? Tell me why I need that." And then I'll figure out if I actually need it or not.
Good point. So you have a proposal that's put together. Let's talk about the proposal a little bit because this is what you're showing the customer, correct?
Sure.
So what kind of information are you showing? What are you pointing out in that proposal?
So first of all, when Geovanna's getting all the information for Daniel and myself to put these into proposals, if they're only asking for, let's say, a cash purchase or a finance purchase or a lease, I do every option available in my proposals when I go sit with the client. Because it happens more than I can tell you that when we're talking to a potential client and you're talking a cash purchase or finance purchase and you talk about tax credits and they have no tax liability to be able to utilize the tax credits, well, in certain utility companies, a lease would be a better way to go if they don't have any taxable liability.
Right.
So I go in the door having every potential option available to go solar just so there's no delays, that we can show them exactly what you can do with A, B, or C.
Okay.
So when we're going through the proposal, first thing I pull up is the overall roof layout, which shows our designers placing the panels on the consumer's home.
Okay.
So the reason for that is a lot of customers get hung up on how many panels I'm getting. My customer, my neighbor's got X amount of panels, and this neighbor or buddy's got this X amount. That's how many panels I want. The hardest thing for a homeowner to understand is, and we mentioned it earlier in the podcast, is all these systems are one-offs, okay, based on your lifestyle, how many people are living in the home. Your friend may leave his AC on 2 degrees warmer than you leave it on. Right. They may run the pool 10 hours longer than you run the pool. So those really all factor into everything. So I always try to tell the homeowner, keep the panels of numbers out of it, and you want to take a look at what that system is going to produce for you and what it's going to offset what you're currently consuming.
Right.
Okay. In APS territory, we like to have 100% plus offset because you can bank credits with APS. SRP, a little different scenario with the solar program over there. We want to offset on peak power because if you're on the right rate plan and back it up with the demand manager, you can get on the cheap cost of electricity with SRP.
Yeah, we've gone through that on this podcast.
Yes.
We have 2 podcasts on that.
Yeah,
right. It's very, very important, and Ben knows that better than anybody here at Harmon.
Sure. Blow his head up
There
even
it is.
more.
Yeah, it's
There
true.
it is.
We have a
It's true.
jingle every time Mr. Everything comes out.
Yeah.
Great.
It's true, though, because Ben fields those phone calls. And unfortunately, here again, competitors will go into the SRP homes and pitch them 100% offset systems. And the only person that's benefiting on those 100% offset systems is the salesperson and the solar installer.
So real quick, so Gio, when you're getting a phone call from somebody in SRP, is that what you're seeing a lot of where they want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say, why can't I go 100%? I'm like, you can't do that.
Well, I mean, you
won't be
can,
able to,
but
yeah, it's not that you can't, but it just doesn't make
You won't
financial
recommend it.
sense.
Right.
lots of people make bad decisions.
Yeah.
You don't want to be one of them, though.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So in the proposal, so when you're in the proposal now, what are you pointing at? You're pointing out the array. You showed them the roof layout.
Yeah, we take a look at the roof layout, discuss why we're placing the panels in a certain scenario on the roof, benefits of having them placed where they are. And then from there, we're talking offsets, savings as far as current consumption, utility costs versus if everything stays the same after solar, kind of see what the savings were going to be. And then lastly, getting into the overall cost in all three options.
So one key point on that. So the proposal obviously is, let's think about the word proposal.
That's correct.
And it's an estimate, right?
Correct, yes.
So there's a lot of smarter people than everybody, except for maybe Ben, that have put the math together on this. And there's a back end math that figures all this stuff out, right? That we rely on those tools. The industry uses those tools. Which, by the way, can be manipulated by people, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
Yeah, that's a different one too. That's an hour on that alone. But we rely on these tools to show us what we think the solar system will produce. As Harmon, we're very, very conservative.
Yes.
So we make sure that it shows a little less.
Yeah, under promise, over deliver.
That's us, right? Yeah. Under promise, over deliver. So we're not going to ever go in there saying it's going to do this when we know it's not going to do that.
Yeah. That's correct.
So we put all that together and show the customer, hey, this is how it looks. This is the reality. And these are estimates.
Estimates based on current lifestyle and consumption. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I bring up several times through the consultant process, is this is based on your current lifestyle right now. Because if they do change and put an electric vehicle or a hot tub or a pool, that's going to change consumption. That's going to change savings. That's going to change offsets. So that's brought up several times, several different ways through the consultant process.
And one of the things I think we used to get a lot of, and we might still in the summertime, but we'll get people that'll call and say, I just don't see the savings that I was looking at in the proposal. And then we give it to Ben.
Yep.
And what do you tell them typically?
Well, that's a whole other podcast.
It is.
I'm sure we'll do.
But the number one reason
is their usage has gone up. We take a look at, when I take a look at these, I always tell them there's two reasons and only two reasons why your bill would be higher than expected. One, equipment not working. And two, usage went up. So let's explore number one. If your system is supposed to produce 20,000 kilowatt hours and it actually produced 21,000 kilowatt hours, well, guess what? Your equipment's working better than expected.
Right.
So going back to my two scenarios, if it's not number one, got to be number two,
and it usually is
99% of the time. It's number two, and especially this year. I don't know if I'm sure everyone here has experienced it. Your July bills in your home, whether you had solar or not, it was higher than last year.
Yes,
because everyone's usage went up.
So bill, it was August.
So August was pretty hot too.
And even my September one.
Yeah.
I was like, man.
Yeah, they were high because it was the hottest summer.
Yep.
And even though your lifestyle didn't change, the outside environment did change, so your usage did go up. So.
Okay, good point.
That's another podcast.
So where were we? We're talking about you going through the proposal and you're talking about the usage and all that stuff and there's scenarios.
Changes in life, yeah.
Right, changes in life. And like Ben was just saying, most of the time when you're using good quality equipment, when you're getting a deficiency from what you had previously seen with your solar system, it is based on consumption. So a lot of times when a consumer does go into solar, their consumption changes even if they've not added anything into their home, because like this summer, it was a lot hotter this summer. So what's somebody going to say when they've got solar? Okay, I'm producing my own power on the roof. I'll crank that thermostat down a little bit to live a little bit more comfortably in my home.
Yep.
That little bit's going to change historical consumption.
I think it's a psychological thing too, because in the spring and early summer they've been seeing these incredibly low bills, and sometimes depending on your utility company, negative bills, and they start to go, oh, I've got negative bills with APS.
Right.
Maybe I will adjust my thermostat up. Well, then you got to realize you have just now made a change. So
that's correct.
Your solar system, I know we kind of joke about it, but your solar system's not going to just magically produce more power. It's going to produce what it's supposed to produce. No more than that, and hopefully no less than that. So whatever you decide to do after that, your system's still producing that same amount.
That's correct. And I do tell them at the same time is, you use the example of 20,000 kilowatt hours. Know that you're going to have 20,000 kilowatt hours at your disposal this particular year. How you use that 20,000 kilowatt hours is on you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good point.
So know that the system's going to get you that 20,000. If you use less than that, then great. If you use more than that, you're going to be buying some from the utility company.
Right.
But that system, we're going to tell you, is going to produce X, and that's
Right.
what it's guaranteed.
And remember,
to
it produces X during the day, but it doesn't produce at night. So you're going to always be buying stuff, from the utility.
Yeah.
Sorry, we haven't made that panel yet. So
one day
we're working on
moon
it.
power.
So you've gone through all this scenario with the customer, and you've kind of showed them all the scenarios, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Let's say they want to move forward.
Sure.
Then what do you do?
Wait, before that, let's
not say they want to move forward.
Before they want to move forward, the number one question that everyone's going to ask: how much does it cost?
Exactly.
How much? What, I mean, it's like buying milk at the store, right?
Right.
Every store sells the exact same thing. It's all the same price, right?
But before we even get to that point, we're talking about tax liability, and that type of thing. Because I want to make sure is we're going through these proposals to try to match them with the right proposal for their lifestyle. Because there's no point in somebody that doesn't have a tax liability to go into a finance or a cash purchase if they don't have the tax liability to take advantage.
Because you're paying for the full cost.
You're paying for the full cost, and you're leaving money on the table.
Yep.
So we like to have those conversations, or at least I like to have those conversations in the home, because I don't want to have any surprises for my clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
Disclaimer: Harmon Solar does not give tax advice.
That would be a good podcast.
That would be a good podcast, right? But we do not give tax advice, but there is a tax element to this process,
Right.
and Dennis is very right. If you don't have a good liability of taxes, that may not make sense to finance or cash. You might want to do a lease. There's reasons why people do what they do, and we'll talk about that in another podcast.
Yeah, pros and cons to each, for sure.
Exactly, and that's why we do all three different types of proposals. And you're absolutely correct. We do not give tax advice, but we can tell you what will work and will not work for you, because we don't want you to have to spend more money than you really should. It's all about maximizing your savings in your pocket.
Yep.
Right. Don't give it to me in a commission for a bigger system. Don't give it to your installer, and you're trying to eliminate the bleeding going to the utility company. So there's several different facets we take a look at here to make sure, A, it's a great fit, and we're maximizing the savings going back into your pocket, not giving it to me in a bigger commission because I'm selling you something you don't need.
Yeah. Good point.
Good. Yeah.
What else were we?
So getting back to the numbers,
how much does it cost?
How much does it cost?
Is this $100 system? Is it $10,000? What are we paying?
So first off, I start off with the cash purchase proposal. That's the most straightforward proposal out there. That's going to be the proposal that's going to maximize your savings, maximize your investment. So we go through cash purchase price, the payment structure on the cash purchase price, talk about the tax credits that are available to you from federal and state, and what your net cost would be once you recouped your tax credits.
So stop there. Cash purchase, how much down?
10% down at contract signing.
Okay.
Then we invoice you for the next 40% at permitting. And then the last invoice is the last 50% at end of construction.
Okay.
So it's not all up front. I like that.
Not all up front?
Not all up front.
There are some people that, I don't have the money right now, but I will later. It's like, okay.
Right.
10%.
And we step it up for a couple of reasons, like Ben just said, is they don't have all the money right up front right now. Another thing, too, there's a lot of people out there that don't know that Harmon's been in the Valley since 1975 as an electrical company, and they just think that we just popped into this industry here and we just came to Arizona, so they're not familiar about, the family ethics that we have at this company.
Right.
So we step it up as, as the project goes along, so you don't feel like we're grabbing all your money and there's nothing happening on your home yet.
Right. Yeah. And there are companies, most companies, I think cash purchases are 50-50.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think we're the only one that I can think of, and so I could be wrong, but I think it's the only one that's 10% up front, which is good.
Yeah. And we split up in 3 payments, so it's not big chunks.
Okay, so cash purchase, if it's a finance.
So finance purchases, I give 2 different options on finance purchases. Traditional solar loan, which we don't do very much anymore for obvious reasons, but a new finance loan through a credit union that's pretty much killed traditional finance. So I show both of those options and why we recommend a credit union finance over traditional solar finance.
But we have both.
We have both. So if like Geovanna was saying, is if you are a lease type person, we offer leases, or if you're a cash type person, we offer cash purchases. If you're a finance person, we offer finances. So we're a company that offers you everything available under the sun for solar. So we're not just a one-shot.
What's the down payment on that finance and lease?
No down payment.
No down payment.
No money out of pocket.
No money out of pocket, and I think on the credit union it's even 6 months with no payments.
On
Wait, so it's not free?
No, and that's another farce that's out there that I'm going to get my solar for free.
It's always free.
I had someone,
every ad.
I had someone come up at the home show and ask me if it was still free, and I'm like, when was it free?
Is it still free? Sign me up.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where, again, other unethical companies that like to spin solar to make it sound very, very attractive to get your information, start hammering you on solar. We're not a company that hammers you on solar. We're here to help you. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, okay, we understand that too.
Consultative.
Yes, very consultative. And then lastly, we go over the lease. So we can, go over all three options and see what the best option is for them. Because, each scenario has got a specific purpose for that consumer. So we want to take a look and make sure we show them every possible option that is available to them.
Yeah, and just like buying a car, you can put money down if you want.
Absolutely.
The financing, and if it is no money down, but if you're like, hey, I want to put like $1,000 down to lower my payment, just like buying a car, you can do that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've gone through. You're at the house, and what you do, you go through the proposal. You've gotten to all the stuff we've gone through. We've gotten to the financing. You've explained all the different financing options. Then it really depends what they want to do at that point. If it's cash. If it's financing, we have to run credit, obviously.
Right.
With credit with a credit union or with finance companies, it's running credit. Or if it's a lease, then we have to run the credit through the leasing company as well.
Well, and even before we even get to that point, we kind of talk about tax credits because there's a lot of misinformation about how tax credits work out there. A lot of companies pitch the tax credits at it's kind of like a rebate that the government's going to write you a check because you've gone solar. That is BS, guys. It does not work that way. So tax credits go against outstanding tax liability. And, a lot of companies pitch that as a rebate out there. It is not a rebate. But here again, the salespeople are pitching it that way because they're more worried about getting the signature on the bottom line, getting their commission, and running to the next one. So that is a conversation that we have at the kitchen table of tax liability. Okay, you're looking at a cash purchase or a finance purchase. Let's talk about your taxes for just one quick second, state and federal. So I want to make sure that you're going to be able to utilize those tax credits, but you need to know that information before you sign on the bottom line and not expect that you're going to get a check back from the government.
So to that point, again, we're not a tax advisor, right?
We'll just have that little disclaimer.
We need to have a little disclaimer at the bottom of the thing. But what he's doing, it makes a lot of sense, right?
Does, yeah.
Because there are different avenues and different roads to go down based on your situation. Right. Again, we're not going to, we're not your tax guy. We're just saying, if you have this liability, this makes sense.
And everyone's different.
Right. If you don't, then this makes sense. But you ultimately make the decision. We even stop and let you talk to your tax guy and say, hey, we're, again, consultative. We're not hard selling. So if you need to take the time to go talk to a tax consultant, whatever you need to do, absolutely go do that. And then he can validate the things that we're telling you moving forward.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. Because the last thing we want is a customer that's upset. From that point, then we go into which one of the scenarios works best for your lifestyle, whether it be a cash purchase, a finance purchase, or a lease. And if they're ready to do something right then, we'll approach it right then. If we get, hey, I need to think about this for a little bit. I need to talk to my tax accountant. Hey, not a problem. Let me verify your email to make sure I got it correct from Geovanna. Let me email you everything we talked about today so you have it. You can talk it over with your wife, your daughter, your son, tax accountant, whoever it may be. Give me a call. Shoot me an email with any questions. That's what I'm here for.
I like that you have it in writing. We've mentioned it before.
Yeah.
Get it in writing. Because there's other solar companies, like, oh, yeah, just email me all this. And they're, let's just talk about it. Like, oh, okay, well, if you're not going to email it to me, you're not going to have something in writing, maybe something's fishy.
Yeah. Well, and on piggybacking on that is the other one of this deal's only good for today.
Yeah.
That's
my favorite.
That one cracks me up. Yeah. That's the biggest red flag out there right now.
Right.
What do you mean I've got to do it right now? That should give you an idea.
The price is going up tomorrow. What's going on tomorrow?
Right.
I mean, I would say we've talked about this more and more, but if a company is in your home and they don't want to leave without you signing a piece of paper, you're probably talking to the wrong company.
Yeah. That's correct.
You're talking to a hard sell sales guy that doesn't care. He just wants to get your signature on that paper so he can go get his commission.
Yeah.
That's not what we're about. We're a consultative company. You're educating and you're leaving. Mm-hmm. You're not hard pressing them to sell and to buy anything.
That's correct.
And I'm just telling you, be aware of that because that's a big deal in this industry.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hard selling solar people out there.
I encourage them to get other quotes and think about it. People. I've been in appointments where like, okay, let's do this. Let's sign right now. And I always go, Are you sure? Like, you don't want to think about it for a couple days,
Yeah.
get some other quotes.
What sales guy says, "Are you sure?"
Mr. Everything.
But it's true.
But
That's what we do,
because
right?
I want them to make a good, informed, financial decision,
For sure. I mean, it's a long-term investment in your home and in your family and that type of thing. And I've been in homes where after we've gone through the whole process, I've told the client, you know what, this really isn't for you, and explain to them why.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if you go forward with solar with your lifestyle right now, the only person that's benefiting is me because I'm getting a commission on it, and Harmon's getting another install. Okay? We're into this to make sure that you're, here again, maximizing the savings into your pocket, not maximizing, our profits and my commissions.
Yeah.
Those profits and commissions are nice, don't get me wrong, but referrals don't come if I'm out there, BSing you. So it's on the up and up.
You wouldn't be here for 11 years if you were doing it wrong.
Right.
Well, that's correct. And along those lines and that's another nice thing about Harmon, and that's why I'm still at Harmon, is anytime that we've hired on new people and we catch wind that they're skirting the truth, they're 86th. Yeah. They're out of there.
Yeah.
Harmon does not put up with that type of shenanigans, and I like that. Being a second generation family owned company, it's we're a family. It's a reputation, and everybody that's been there for the most part has been there a long time. We're a family, and we know what's right and what's wrong. Right. And that's how we all operate that business.
And I would say that, and I know this is true from talking to other people in the industry, we are not the most liked company in this industry.
I apologize for that.
And you know what? Tough.
Yeah.
Because we're going to do it right. And if you don't like that, you just shouldn't be in this business anyway.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, we are the truth solar company. I mean, we're going to do it the right way. The proper way, and not twisting the rules or bumping numbers or making things look better than they should. The numbers are the numbers. This is it. This is what it's going to produce. This is what it's going to cost, and this is how we're going to accomplish that for you.
We're not in the fairy dust business.
No,
not yet.
Not yet.
It's no nonsense, though.
Right. I agree. And you were talking about how you'll tell somebody no, and it's funny because when you do that, sometimes I'll get a phone call.
Yes.
and they'll say, this Dennis guy, he doesn't want to sell me solar. Why is he working for you? Blah, blah, blah. And then I look into it and say, well, he's actually helping you out because you should never go with solar.
Are you calling to say thank you?
Yeah. And then we'll get a bad review, and then you'll get tagged on the review.
Yes.
And then the funniest thing about that is then we get calls back later. I should have listened to you, right?
Yeah, that I was
I
right.
can think of at least 10 people, and there was one guy in particular that gave you a really hard time. I'll never forget that, and busted you up about not selling him solar. He went with this other company because they promised him all this stuff.
Yep.
And you told him you'll be back because what they're saying they can do, they can't.
Yeah.
And I think it was about a month later he came back and said you were right.
That's correct. It happens.
Price went up after that, right?
Yes.
Because he didn't buy that day.
Well, no. Unfortunately, that happens sometimes though too, but for other reasons. But that happens more than I like. But here again, it's about being ethical and not thinking about my wallet and thinking of the consumer's wallet.
Do you ever get into it? I mean, I know that a lot of people are looking at a lot of different proposals. Do you ever get into talking about do they ask you about competition? Does
Sure,
that happen?
Absolutely. And that's a conversation that I don't mind getting into, but at the same time, I'm not one to bash the competition at all. There's no need for that. Basically, when we start talking about competitors, I talk about how we do it more than how they don't do it.
Right.
Okay. Because I don't want to come off, and I will not come off as the type of person that I'm trying to get their business because I'm bad-mouthing another company.
Right.
I'm going to sit there and tell you how we do it and why I feel it's the best way to do it and why I feel the way I do. And, hey, if it works for them, great. If it doesn't, hey, I understand that too. I don't get every single one of the deals that I'm set out to do, but I close the majority of them. But I also understand that's I'm not going to get every single one, whether it be personality or
whatever
people on price or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios that can go into that.
Do you ever get calls where people say, hey, I talked to this other company and they promised me this or they promised that. Do you guys do this because do you guys do like them? Or do you ever get that stuff like that?
Yeah, I get that on thermostats. If we include like free thermostats or some kind of
the freebies.
The freebies, yeah.
So
we
people are
can talk
asking if
about
we
that.
give away all the freebies. Yeah. And of course, we don't do that typically.
And that's a scam as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. if they're offering you something for free, I'm going to say this right now. Yeah. It's not free.
It's not. Someone's
it's
paying
baked
for it.
in the price.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
Do you ever go over other proposals from other companies? I always like showing them, like, hey, let me show you how they priced it out. I'll show you how to figure out the price per watt, and then you can kind of figure out what's the best value of what you're actually getting.
Absolutely. Go over that, or even go over...
No company wants to show you that.
No, they don't. They want to skip over that,
Yeah.
or go over production numbers that the competitors are giving them unrealistic production numbers that are impossible to reach. And they'll cross that bridge when they come to it, when they get caught with their pants down of an absolute lie.
Yeah.
There's unfortunately a lot of misinformation out there that gives good companies like ourselves, and there's probably a handful of other good companies like Harmon out there, kind of gives the whole industry a kind of a sideways name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a battle, unfortunately, because of the way Arizona is, that we have to fight out there of constantly giving the right information out there.
I think that's the main reason I wanted to start this podcast, was to talk about those things and show people and arm them. And, we always talk about the Harmon story. We've done nothing but talk about the Harmon story the last few weeks. Yeah. We talked about the roofing. I mean, it was nothing but how we do it different. All the differentiators, right? We do things so different from everybody else.
And it's a long laundry list of
it is
how we do things differently.
For me, this podcast is a light in a dark room, right? We're putting that light on to show you what's really going on.
Yeah, because you do see a lot of, like, on social media, all these negative comments of,
Yep.
My roof leaked and my bills were higher and I paid more and this and that. And I always read those. I never comment on them because I'm not going to argue over the internet. But I always read those and I'm like, well, yeah, you shouldn't have gotten solar, or you shouldn't have gone with that company. It doesn't mean the entire industry is like that. It's just that one company that you dealt with was not very ethical. I'm sorry, but don't put a big stink on the entire industry because of something that happened to just you.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of those companies out there.
Yeah,
there is, and Arizona is a hotbed for solar, and you see, especially in the summertime, you got all these companies coming in from different states because they want to grab for 2-3 months and see what they can get, and then they're out.
Yep.
And that's how it works. And you got to be really careful of those people. And I made some notes. I was writing something down. We were talking about what sets Harmon apart from everyone else, and we've kind of hit on all that, right? We talk about we're not hard selling. We don't ever hard sell. If someone ever hard sells you from Harmon, I want to know his name.
Yeah,
because we don't do it.
His name is Ben Wolschlager.
I'm probably one of the most laid back consultants that goes into a consumer's home.
Oh, I agree. You go in there with your mullet and your shorts and you kick back.
He's out.
You used to have a mullet.
He's out in the backyard grilling hamburgers.
Yeah, right.
What are you doing?
No, I'm very educational driven and very laid back. It's not a hard sell with me at all. And I think the majority of the salespeople that you've hired over the years have been more laid back.
And if anyone wasn't, they weren't here anymore.
They weren't here very long at all.
Yeah, we're not going to play that game. We're a consultative company. We've been talking about that all podcast. We'll tell you no, which we've talked about that too. We constantly will tell people no if it's not a good fit for them. And it's no BS. It's just the facts, right? We're not going to make facts up. We're not going to create our own facts just to make you sign a paper to sell solar. We're going to give you the straight and narrow, right? Direct.
Well, and that's, the non-facts are always going to filter to the top one way or another. So there's no point in going down that road.
Okay. So anybody, common questions maybe you get from a customer when they're looking to go solar. Can you think of?
I want to hear from Geo because she gets them all.
No, I can't think of anything.
Well, you've kind of talked about a few already in the beginning.
You've talked to thousands and thousands of people. The most common question that they always ask you, it's probably like the first thing they ask you when you talk to them on the phone. What are they?
I can bring one up.
Save Geo.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know she hears this a time or two because we talk about it, is equipment. And we've touched on equipment. And like Ben was saying earlier, a lot of the equipment is Heinz ketchup. But there are other companies out there that are using, subpar equipment from, whether it be China or Taiwan or that type of thing. That's not going to last very long in our heat and in our demographic. But they pitch it to save a couple pennies here and there, but they don't realize that, A, the panel's not going to last that long. The degradation is extreme. To save a couple pennies, it's costing them dollars in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. They're stepping over, dollars
to save pennies. Yeah, exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, pretty close. But no, it's true. So I think, equipment is a big thing that people ask about, and that's one thing I do. Here again, there's a lot of things I enjoy about working at Harmon. for. But one is, we don't cut corners on equipment. Yeah. It's always good quality equipment that's got good warranties that we can stand behind. I mean, with Harmon, I know you guys have probably talked about it before. We've been around here since '75, so we've got a reputation to protect of good quality equipment that we install quality, and we don't cut corners.
I'll answer the question for Geo. When people call in, how many times do you get that people say, just give me a ballpark? I'm not going to hold you to that number. Give me a ballpark of how much does it cost?
Oh, yeah, we were talking about this.
I would say that's probably majority of your phone calls, right?
But that's when I get into detail about how important the usage is and how that differentiates.
So why can't you give a ballpark then?
Because everyone is different.
Yeah, it's like ballpark the cost on a house.
I think you're just holding back. I think you could, you just don't want to. Yeah. I'm kidding.
I just had one earlier this week. Okay, when I asked about consumption, she didn't want to give the consumption to Geovanna.
Oh, yeah.
And we went over proposals because she says, I just want X amount of panels on the home. So we gave her that. Okay. Well, how much is that going to save us? Well, I'm sorry, I can't tell you that.
No clue.
Because I don't have your consumption now to offset with what it's producing to know. Well, it's below average consumption. Well, what's below average consumption? Yeah. This is the conversation we had. And this where it gets into where it's very important when Geo asks these questions when you're calling in on the phone. It's not for giggles on her end. Well, let's see how long I can keep them on the phone. It is information that we need to get you a proper quote.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, look at the image behind you. All those houses right there look about the same size, but those solar systems are not all about the same size.
Exactly.
So it's not about just a general ballpark of what it's going to cost and what am I going to save, because
we don't know.
I don't know. I need numbers from you first.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I use a story it's a true story that when I had my dealership, my cousin and I built semi-custom homes right next door to each other. Mm-hmm. Same size homes.
Yep.
Okay. Same size pool. Mm-hmm. They had one more child, and he kept the home 3 degrees cooler in the summertime. He used 40,000 kilowatt hours a year. I used 28,000 kilowatt hours a year.
Wow.
Okay. So you don't need the same size system.
No.
Yeah. Same house.
3
degrees in the summer.
And one extra child.
Yeah.
That made all the difference in the world. Another 12,000 kilowatt hours of consumption.
Imagine if both those homes got the same system.
Right.
One would be happy, one would not be.
Exactly. And then what happens? Okay. Somebody's not happy.
Someone's not happy.
Yeah.
Which is why we need the information. Yeah. We're only as good as the data you give us.
Data. I cannot make bricks without clay.
Wow. Okay.
And on that note.
No, we're not there yet. Anything we're missing in this process for you guys? I mean, so I think we've laid it out. It's been a pretty long process of how it works, and when you're calling Geo and what she's asking for and what qualifies, and then what to expect when you get to the home. Anything that we've missed at all?
I know a common question that you and I always get. How long is it going to take to install? I signed on the dotted line.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm going to get my panels installed tomorrow, like this other company said.
Absolutely. So that one comes up frequently.
I found out recently there are some companies, I won't name them, that they do install without permitting.
Yeah, which is very bad.
Yeah, very, very bad.
Yeah, very bad. So that question comes up every consult of how long is it going to take?
Right.
And depending on the jurisdiction of where they live, it all varies.
Right.
Okay. So between utility company, jurisdiction, and everyone's just a little bit different. So here again, we base it on averages. In this jurisdiction with this utility company, it's going to be from start to signature to install to producing power, and why.
Yeah. I always tell people we're at the mercy of other entities.
Yeah.
If go out to our warehouse, there's panels everywhere. I'm sure if it was up to us, we would order a whole bunch of panels and get you installed tomorrow. Yeah. But that's not up to us.
There's times of the year, and it depends. I mean, there's times I'll tell people it's 45 to 60 days, or I'll tell them it's 60 to 90 days on average. And it just depends. We know in Phoenix it's going to take a little longer because of the permit process. Yeah. We know other utilities, the permit process may be over the counter. So there's a broad range of answers, right? We can't give an exact, 60 to 90 days to me always seems safe.
I always say like 3 to 4 months. If it's before that, then you're happy.
Yeah. And that's fine too. I mean, we've had jobs that we've installed in 18 days, and we've had jobs that have taken 6 months.
Because we just don't know.
It just depends on the job. It depends on the utility. It depends on the jurisdiction. It depends on how fast we interact with the customer and they get us back things that we need. So
majority of the time, it's out of our hands.
Right.
It's nothing that we can control.
We'll move as fast as others move.
Right.
That's the key, right? So, but I think 60 to 90 is a fair starting point to say.
And that's industry wide. Yeah. So if you do have another solar company that's saying that they can install it faster, I would call them out on that. because it's industry wide. It's not a Harmon thing. It's not like we're installing faster because we're so great. This is what the industry is like. This is what the utilities like. This is what the jurisdiction is like.
And we talked about like maybe we'll take an extra couple days to make sure we're doing something better.
Yeah,
like with the roofing we talked about last time, right? Yeah. We're gonna do it we're gonna do it the right way the first time, so the stuff stays on the roof.
Yeah,
right. That's the key, right? And it's working the way it's supposed to.
Day or two. Yes, I guess we'll be a longer compared to other companies by a day or two or something.
But, that's I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't cave in.
Absolutely. So, anything else we're missing, guys?
No, that pretty much covers it.
That covers it, huh? That's our appointment and consultation process.
Sure. I still think we should go through a whole. I'll pretend like I'm a customer. I'll call in. Gio will set the appointment. Dennis will do the whole proposal right now in front of me.
All right. And again, on that note,
Ben
has his way of ending these podcasts.
Signing off. I guess.
On that note, Dennis, thank you for coming in and talking about what you do in the home.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And Gio, what you're doing up front, it kind of gives our customers a good idea what to expect when they're calling. And Mr. Everything for doing everything that you do always.
Yeah, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button.
Yeah, hit that like and subscribe button.
And what's going to be our next podcast?
I was just going to say that. You're ahead of me, right?
I know.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the EV world, electric vehicle world, the chargers, and kind of we've got an industry expert that works for Harmon coming in to talk about that. And this person is, man, she's solid. She knows this stuff better than anybody I know. People come to her to talk about this stuff, to learn from her. So we've got her coming in next time, and we'll talk EVs.
She probably knows no more than me.
I can't even believe you just said that.
I know.
All right.
Tune in.
Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Again, if you need Harmon's assistance, our phone number is 800-281-3189. You can get in touch with Gio, make an appointment, or any questions that you may have, or you can visit us at harmonsolar.com. And there's a lot of good information on there, including a link to this podcast.
There you go.
Have a good day.